Hey, everybody, welcome to the Shanty. So we're back in the Shanty to talk about benefits again. And you know that we're back in the Shanty to talk about benefits again, because on the screen, you can see Stephanie Grant. And I just introduced Stephanie Grant not too very long ago. Stephanie is the senior counsel in our Detroit office, and she specializes in health and welfare benefit plans. And with her today is Brandon Cross. And Brandon is a brand new first-year associate in the benefits department. And we're here. Stephanie, by the way, is rapidly becoming the most frequent guest on the Shanty. She's here all the time because we're getting a lot of stuff going on in benefits law. And what we're going to talk about today, really briefly, is give you an update on something that's happened in Washington, D.C. with respect to the end of the public health emergency and the presidential national emergency that Brand and Stephanie actually did an e-alert on April 6th. And they told you that the government had issued some FAQs and that everything was going to end on May 11th. And here's what you needed to do to prepare. And then, of course, as it always does, everything changed. So we're back to give you an update on what changed. So Stephanie, what's going on in DC?
Yeah, so back in January and February, President Biden and his administration had kind of given us a heads up that the two emergencies that were associated with COVID-19, the public health emergency and then the presidential emergency, were going to end May 11th. So we've been working towards that date, all year for the past couple of months. And then at the end of March, we get guidance from the federal agencies explaining more about how that works, how those emergencies will wrap things up. And that's what we issued our e-alert on last week. But then on Monday, during this time, there was a resolution and actually a bill passed in Congress that ended the national emergency earlier than May 11th. So President Biden signed that on Monday, April 10th. And so April 10th is our new date that the presidential emergency ends. So I do want to talk about one thing that hasn't changed. So that resolution, that bill that ends the emergency on April 10th is only the presidential emergency. So that's the emergency related to what we call the outbreak period, when we talked about deadline extensions, and Brand will kind of share a little bit more about the impact on that. But what that didn't change was the end date for the public health emergency. That's a different set of federal rules, federal guidelines. That's not the president's thing. That's the Health and Human Services issues those. That is still set to end on May 11th. If you go back to our e-alert, which we'll link when this goes out, all the things we talk about related to the public health emergency, which is the requirements for COVID-19 testing, COVID-19 treatments, coverage related to those, Medicaid enrollment, that all ends on May 11th still. But what has changed is the end date and the calculation of the end of the quote unquote outbreak period. That's what's now changed. It's not May 11th anymore. It's something different. And, Brand will kind of jump in and explain that.
Okay, Brand, that's clear as mud. Now, what else do we need to know?
So Stephanie talked a little bit about what the bill does not affect. But what the bill does affect is the COVID-19 national emergency. So the bill ended the national emergency as of April 10th, the date that the president signed the bill. And just as importantly, it started the clock ticking for the end of the so-called outbreak period, which begs the question, what is the outbreak period? So back in 2020, the Department of Labor, the IRS, and the Treasury issued a joint notice that extended certain deadlines in response to the national emergency. These are deadlines for things such as HIPAA special enrollment, COBRA continuation coverage, or internal claims and appeals for benefit plans. And the agencies extended these deadlines for the COVID-19 national emergency plus 60 days. So starting March 1st, 2020, the entire national emergency plus 60 days. And they labeled this deadline extension period the outbreak period. Now, as Stephanie also said, prior guidance from the White House and agencies said that the anticipated ending date of the national emergency was going to be May 11th. So May 11th was going to be the end of the national emergency. The 60-day clock would start and the deadline extension would end sometime in July. However, with the president signing this bill, the national emergency is actually going to end a month earlier on April 10th. This means that unless we get further guidance that says otherwise, that 60-day clock started on Monday, April 10th, which means that the outbreak period, which is now currently set to end June 9th, and with it, the agency deadline extensions. It's not immediately clear if we're going to get updated agency guidance or updated FAQs that change anything, but for right now, we should anticipate that the outbreak period deadline extension is going to end June 9th.
Okay, anything else we need to know, guys?
Just check out that e-alert that we previously said, and just in your mind, kind of adjust some of those dates. Instead of working towards a July 11th end date, or July 10th end date originally, we're working towards a June 9th. So just check back in for all of the guidance and suggestions that we said in order to prepare for the end date. You just kind of need to do everything a month earlier.
Okay, and you should check out the e-alert. Stephanie and Brand tell me they're going to update that. We're going to put a link in the, I don't know what we call them, show notes, introduction, e-alert, whatever it is that goes out with this thing. Excuse me. So we'll have a link there for you guys to go to and check out that e-alert to get any information you want, or call one of these guys and they'll help you through it. Thanks a bunch, guys. We'll talk to you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.